Hi everyone, it's Monica and welcome back to Tailor-Made Cards for You. So today I wanted to do something a little bit different. I wanted to show you a technique that I've been working on to create a faux metal background, and I added a little rust to it. This is an example of a card where I created the faux metal background and then I used it on a project. Now we're not going to actually be creating this card, but I did want to show you an example of the technique that I'm going to be showing you. And then at the end, I'll show you another card that I created. Now there's a few different products that you can use to create this background and to use this technique. You can use Nuvo drops, or you could also use glossy accents. Now we're also using some black matte embossing paste, and then I also created some rust on my panel. And what I'm using is the Rust Effect paste from Prima. Now on my card, I did use a couple of stamps, so I just wanted to go ahead and share with you those stamps as well. And the two stamps that I'm using are from Stampendous, and then also I used those eyeglasses from iBreak for stamps. So I will leave a list of all the products that I used for the cards that I showcased at the bottom of my YouTube channel, along with the links. All right, so here's a couple of examples. Here's the white cardstock after I've added the glossy accents. And then the black is a card panel where I used the white Nuvo drops and then I added the black matte embossing paste. But I wanted to show you exactly the process from the beginning to end. So in order to create the rivets and the panels, I'm going to go ahead and work off of this cardboard. Okay, so this technique is really easy. When you're using your Nuvo drops or your glossy accents, all you're doing is creating lines to create panels. There is no rhyme or reason. All I did was just start at the corner and start making lines to create my panels. Now your panels probably want to be a little bit bigger. You don't want them to be too small because remember, within each panel, you're going to have to create those dots to create those rivets. Now I've also seen this technique done with a glue gun, but it might be a little bit harder to control your dots with the glue gun. I could be wrong because I haven't tried it, but I have seen the technique done that way. So I wanted to go ahead and show you using the Nuvo drops along with the glossy accents how this will work. We've all used Nuvo drops, and all you're doing is pushing down on your tube to create a little dot. And I think you could probably use any color of Nuvo drops because remember, you're going to be covering this with the black embossing paste. So I gave you a couple of examples using the Nuvo drops, but I probably would use the glossy accents instead of my Nuvo drops because this does take a little bit of product, and Nuvo drops I think are probably a little bit more expensive than your glossy accents. But if you're working with a small panel and you're just creating a small base, then perhaps Nuvo drops would work. All right, so once you have your lines to create your panel, then you're going to go up against each line and create dots to create your rivets. Now, one thing you want to be careful with is you don't want to get too close to your line because you don't want your rivets to seep into the line. You want them to be separated. And I'll show you an example of that in just a minute. But to go with the process here, it's just really easy. You're just creating lines and then you're adding dots for your rivets. And here's what you're going to come up with. Now you're probably going to want to let these dry overnight because we're going to be adding the black paste to it, and you want this product to be good and dry. Okay, so after you've created your panel and you set it aside to dry, this is what you're going to end up with. Now, like I said, I wanted to show you an example of what not to do. If you put your rivets or your dots too close to the lines, then they can easily bleed into the lines. And you don't want that. You want the lines and the rivets to be separate, kind of like this panel here. This is a good example where the rivets don't touch the lines and you can tell that the dots are very distinct. All right, so once you have your cardstock or your cardboard or whatever you're going to be working with and it's completely dry, then you're going to go ahead and take some black embossing paste and you're going to add it to your cardstock. Now I'm using a paintbrush and that seemed to work the best. You probably could use a palette knife, but your card panel isn't going to be exactly level because you're going to have those dots, of course. And I found that the paintbrush worked really well because you can get into those nooks and crannies. And I just added my black paste, spreading it on, and then I went back and I dabbed places where I needed to get a little bit more black paste in. Now the paste that I'm working with is from Dreamweaver, and it's called Matte Black Embossing Paste. Now this is a new product for me, and I got it because I plan on using it to create some steampunk canvases, but this product worked great to create my faux metal panels. So once I've added my embossing paste, and I put it, you can either put it aside to dry or you can use a heating tool. Either one works really well, and it doesn't take very long to dry. Okay, so this is what your panels are going to look like once your black embossing paste is completely covering your panel and they're dry. Now you can go ahead and work with the panels just like they are right now, or if you want to add some rust, you can do that, and that's what I'm going to show you next. Now, if you don't want to have rusty panels, you certainly don't have to do this next technique. Your panel after you add the black embossing paste is good to go, and you can use it on your project. But if you are creating maybe a steampunk card, or if you want your background to look a little bit more grungy or have more of a rust effect, this is what we're going to be working on right now, and this is what I want to show you. Now there's a couple of products that I use to create my rust effect. One of them, of course, is the rust effect paste from Finnabair, and this is of course from Prima. Now the other product that I use is from Tattered Angels, and this is a glimmer mist called Rusty Red. And what I like about both products is the product that is from Finnabair is a paste, so you're not going to get any drippage or anything like that, but it creates a really great faux rust effect. And that's the first thing that I want to do. Now, to create your faux rust, there's 3 paste colors that you're going to use. The first one is your darker one, and that's the brown. And then I go in with the rust one, and then I go in with the yellow. I like to do dark to light, and then if I feel that my yellow is a little bit too vibrant, then I'll add some more brown to it. And the way that I do this, again, there's no rhyme or reason. I just take my brush, and the brush is stiff because I'm kind of pouncing it. And then I just dip it into my paste, and then I just dab it onto my card. And typically what I'm going to do is I'm going to follow my lines because that's where your rust usually will build up. But then I do add a little bit just on the card base itself where there aren't any lines. And really that's all there is to it. You can add as little bit of the product that you want or as much as you want. It really is up to you. Now what I also like about this paste is it does dry pretty quickly. So once you do have all of your product onto your cardstock or your panel or whatever you're working on, then you can put it aside to dry, and it won't take very long. You can also use a heat tool on this product and it would work just fine. Because it is a paste, it won't move, so when you're drying it, you can just use your heat tool right over it and it will dry it a little bit faster. And this is the effect that you're going to get. But again, I also wanted to show you, if you wanted to have a little bit of the rust that is a little bit runny, then you can use this Tattered Angels Glimmer Mist. Now, I like to spray my mist really close to my panel and right on the corner of the rust or the foot where the lines connect. And then what I do is I take my cardstock and I just kind of move it to get some drippage. And then even though it looks a little bit wet right now, and a little bit darker, when it dries you get a really cool effect, and it really does add to the realistic look of the rust. It really does. Both of these products together is great, and I'm glad that I was playing with them and just kind of came up with this combination. Now again, you could probably use the paste on its own, but I really like to have some of that rust dripping a little bit, and it will give you a nice realistic look. Okay, so I hope that you've enjoyed my technique today, and I've given you some ideas on how to create some faux rust panels. For your convenience, I'll leave a list of all the products that I've used to create these panels, along with the links to the stores. I would sure appreciate a thumbs up. And if you think this is a technique that might be interesting to some of your other crafting friends, I would sure appreciate you sharing the video. Now don't forget, if you're not subscribed to my channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and leave me a comment. Let me know what you think about this technique. All right, everybody, thanks so much for stopping by, and we'll see you again next time.